Hi everyone, this is the video tutorial for how to complete our final film project of the school year, our green screen compositing project. Hopefully this will be a nice, short, simple project that you'll enjoy doing. You will need access to a computer with Adobe Premiere Pro. Unfortunately, you won't be able to finish this project on a mobile device using Adobe Premiere Rush. You won't have to film anything. I've actually already filmed all of the footage that you'll need and posted it to the Google Drive. So your first step is to decide what exactly you want to do for this project. As it says on the Canvas assignment page, you have two options. Option A is to create a short digital effect shot that has at least 3 layers. And those layers would include a digital background, a shot of an actor, and then some kind of digital effect that would be composited on top of that. Option B is to create a short digital effect shot that has at least 2 layers. That would include a digital background and then a layer with an actor in it. And then you would use keyframe animations to animate one of those layers. I'm going to demonstrate option A first, and then I'll go back and show you how to do option B. In both cases, the final digital effect shot only needs to be a few seconds long. So let's get started by going to the Google Drive and taking a look at what's there. You'll see I've added a folder inside the Google Drive called 2019-2020 Green Screen Project Files. And inside that folder are 2 subfolders. One of them is labeled Raw Green Screen Footage, and the other is labeled Digital Effects. Let's look at the Raw Green Screen Footage folder first. This one contains a bunch of short video clips of me in front of a green screen doing weird things. Like here's a shot of me firing a prop handgun. And here is a shot of me sitting on the ground meditating. And here's a shot of me in front of a green screen pretending to breathe fire. So spend some time taking a look at this footage. If you don't like anything that's in here and you have access to a green screen at home, you're welcome to film something else to use for this project. Otherwise, you're probably going to be stuck using me as your actor. You're also going to want to take a look at the other folder, Digital FX. This contains a wide variety of digital effects clips. Some of them are already pre-keyed. Some of them need to be keyed, which can be composited into your final digital effect shot. We have muzzle flashes, flames, explosions, all kinds of different things. Now, if you don't find what you're looking for in here, you can always go to Detonation Films. Their website is detfilmshd, that's detfilmshd.com, and take a look at their collections. Now, I've already downloaded a lot of different clips from this website, but if you see something that we don't have access to, send me a private message or an email, and I'm happy to purchase it for you and upload it to the Google Drive. You're also welcome to check out sites like YouTube for green screen effects. And if you have an easy way to download videos from YouTube, you can use that as well for your final project. So I think I have a good idea of what I want to do for my example project. For option A, I'm going to use the clip of me firing a handgun, and I'm going to add a muzzle flare to the front of the barrel of the gun. So I'm going to go here to the folder called Muzzle Flashes, and I'll look at some of these and find one that looks like it'll fit in. So let's see, Smoky Flash Side. Let's take a look at this. This is a shot of a muzzle flash coming from the side of the screen. That matches up with my primary footage of me firing a gun from that side of the screen. So I'm going to download this clip. And then I'm going to go to the other folder with the raw green screen footage, and I'm going to download the shot of me firing a handgun. I'm also going to need a digital background for this. And I'm going to decide that I want my digital effect shot to take place in a dark alley. So I am going to do a Google search for an image of a dark alleyway. This one looks pretty good. So I'm going to take this image and I'm going to download that as well. Okay, so now I've downloaded my 3 clips that I'm going to use. And before I go any farther, I'm going to right-click on my desktop and create a media folder to hold all of my assets for this project. So I'm calling it green screen, and I'm going to move everything that I've downloaded into that folder. This is the folder where my project file is going to exist as well. Now I can open up Adobe Premiere Pro and click on New Project. But I don't just hit OK. First, I have to click Browse, and I have to find that folder. I go to Desktop. I select the green screen folder that I just created and select folder. Now I can give it a name. I'm going to call it green screen. Now I can hit OK, and it will finish loading Adobe Premiere Pro. Next step is to import that media from that folder. So I'm going to double click where it says Import Media to start. It should open up that folder, and I'm going to select everything except for my project and hit Open. Now it's imported. Now remember, it's very important, Adobe Premiere will set the project properties according to whatever the first thing is that I drag onto my timeline. So I need to make sure that the first thing that I drag onto my timeline is my raw footage. So that is this clip right here, firing a handgun. So I'm going to look at it in the preview window. Nice and simple. And then I'm going to drag and drop it onto the timeline. Now, none of these have any audio, but if you want to be nice and clean, you can drag just the video only onto the timeline. But if you drag the whole thing, you'll just get a blank audio track, and that's fine. Okay, so I've got my primary footage onto my timeline. I'm going to move it up to video track 2 because it's going to be the second layer. The background is going to be on the bottom layer, and the muzzle flash is going to be on the top layer. Okay, so now I'm going to go find my background, and that's right here, and I'm going to drag that onto video track 1 underneath it. And I'm going to trim it up so that they're both the same length. Now, of course, that didn't change anything up here in my preview window because I haven't made this green background transparent yet. The way that I do that is a process called keying, spelled K-E-Y-I-N-G. I'm going to go to my effects library, go to Video Effects, and there's a folder called Keying. Now, if you are keying out green from a green screen, I recommend that you use the Ultra Key effect. It's the most effective one. Don't waste your time with the Color Key effect. It doesn't work as well as the Ultra Key effect. So I'm going to drag and drop this onto my primary footage. And then I'm going to select that clip and open up my effect controls up here. Now, if I scroll down, I will find the effect controls for the Ultra Key effect right here. And it's going to give me a little eyedropper, and I'm going to use that on my preview window to select the color that I'm going to key out, or the color that I want to become transparent. So I click on the eyedropper and go over here to my preview window. Now, I recommend selecting a dark shade of green in your preview window. So someplace where there's a lot of shadows. So it looks like there's some shadows right here underneath my arm on the green screen, so I'm going to select right there. And now you can see it's cut out a lot of that green, but it's not a very clean key just yet. So I'm going to go to the Matte Generation tab right here, and I'm going to expand that. I'm going to see a bunch of sliders that are going to help me clean up this key. And I have found that things work pretty well if you play around with the highlights and shadows and the pedestal. So let's do that. Let's cut out some of these highlights. That looks better already. Okay. And I think I don't need to do anything else, but you can play around with the tolerance and the pedestal if you want. Oh, yep, that looks pretty good right there. Okay, now you might notice a few other problems here, of course. Number one, the background is not the same size as everything else. So I'm going to click on the background on my timeline, and up here in the effect controls, I can go to Scale, and I can increase the scale of the background until it fills the entire frame. Now you might notice that there's another problem. I've only been able to cut the green out of the places that the green screen was actually covering. Here you can see my living room wall and my living room curtains right there. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to use another effect to get rid of that. You're going to use a crop effect. The crop effects are located in Transform under the Video Effects. So down here, Transform, I'm going to drag and drop the crop effect onto the second layer. And that, again, appears up here in my effect controls. I'll scroll down, and here are my crop controls. I'm going to crop on the left side. There we go. That got rid of my living room wall. And then I'm going to crop on the right side, and that'll get rid of my curtains. There we go. But now I don't want to go too far, otherwise it'll get rid of me. So just the curtains right there. Okay, and now it looks like the background is still not big enough. So I'm going to click on that background, and I'm going to make the scale even larger. There we go. Now I've got the background filling the entire frame, and I'm in front of it. So let's take a look at that. I'll go back to the beginning. All right, that's a pretty clean key. That looks really nice. Okay, we've got the first 2 layers done. The next layer is to add in the composited muzzle flash. So I'm going to move my playhead to the point where I want the muzzle flash to appear, and that's right there. That's where the muzzle flash should appear. Now I'm going to go back to my media library, and I'm going to bring up SmokyFlashSide01.mov. We'll open it up here in the preview, and I want to find the first frame of the muzzle flash, because you don't want this logo, Detonation Films, in your video. So my first frame is right there. I'll mark my in, then I'll go to the last frame, and mark my out. Now I can drag this onto my timeline, and I'm going to put it right up against where the playhead is. So now, that's where it appears. Now, of course, you'll be noticing that there's that black background there. We're going to need to key that out. Some of the digital effect clips in the Google Drive are already pre-keyed, meaning the background is already transparent. You should just be able to drop them into Adobe Premiere and not do anything else. Some of them, though, like this one, have a black or a white background, and you'll need to key that out. Now, if you're using a green screen, you should use the Ultra Key effect. But if you were trying to remove black or white, those technically aren't colors. Those are qualities of light. So we're not going to use the Ultra Key effect. Instead, we are going to use the Luma Key effect, because that is going to remove light, not color. So we go to our effects library, and underneath keying is the Luma Key effect right here. I'm going to drag and drop that onto the muzzle flash, and it should immediately get rid of that black background really nicely. There we go. So we can still see that muzzle flash right there, but the black background is gone. Now, next step, we need to actually move it so that it lines up with the front of the barrel of the gun. And that's real simple. I click on the clip of the muzzle flash, and I go to Effect Controls. And up here, under Motion, we've got the Position sliders. I simply use those sliders to move the muzzle flash to line up right there with the front of the gun. There we go. So here's what it looks like. Bang. Simple as that. Now, of course, I could do that multiple times, and I could add an extra muzzle flash for each time I pulled the trigger, or I could just cut the whole thing right there. Boom. My digital effect shot is all done. All I need to do at this point is just render it and then upload the finished video file to the Google Drive. Of course, if you want to, you can add sound effects to this. If I really was in a dark alleyway firing a handgun, well, that muzzle flash would change the quality of light in the entire scene for that split fraction of a second that it goes off. So I could add in some lighting effects to make the screen brighter just for those frames where the muzzle flash appears. I could composite in another person onto the other side getting shot, and I could composite blood bursting out of their chest. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Have fun with this. But if you're running short on time, what I did right here is worth full credit. Very simple project. Should take you less than 15 minutes once you know what you want to do. Okay, so that was option A. Now let's take a look at option B. So I'm going to go back to my Google Drive. And what I want to do is I want to play around with this meditating clip right here. And instead of compositing something on top, what I want to do is animate this layer. I'm going to remove the green background, and I'm going to replace it with, let's say, a starscape. And then I'm going to move me around as if I am floating in the air through space. So that's the other option. Instead of doing 3 layers, you can do 2 layers, and you can animate one of them using keyframes. So I'm going to download this. and I'm going to put it right in that green screen folder. And then I'm going to find a different background. Let's do a Google image search for Starscape. There we go. Now, I'm going to download that right into the folder. And then I'm going to go into Adobe Premiere. I'm going to erase the stuff that is already on my timeline. And now I'm going to import those two new media clips, the Starscape and the meditating right there. Okay, now if this was my first time I'd open up the project, I need to be very mindful of what I'm dragging and dropping onto my timeline first. So I'm going to drag my raw footage of my actor onto it. Now as you can see, this time I brought the video and the audio, but the audio is muted, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, I've put that onto layer 2, and I'm going to put my Starscape backgrounds underneath it onto layer 1 and make sure that they are in fact the same length. Next step, I'm going to need to remove the green background. So I click on that layer 2, and I am going to drag and drop an Alter key effect onto it to remove that green background. I go up to Effect Controls. I find the controls for the Alter key effect. I click on the eyedropper, and I find a nice shadowy part of the green screen. So once again, it looks like here underneath my arm is a nice dark green color. So that got rid of most of it. And now I'm going to go to the matte generation sliders to clean this up. I'm going to get rid of the highlight, and I'm going to play around with the pedestal a little bit. That looks nice and good. Okay, and of course I need to get rid of the sides with a crop effect. So I will go down to Transform. I'm going to drag and drop the crop onto layer 2. I'll crop out the left side. I will crop out the right side. And now I need to increase the size of the background. So I'll click on the background, go up to Scale, and increase the scale until it fills the entire frame. Awesome. So once again, I've got my 2 layers done. Now I just need to animate the top layer. This is the fun part. So I click on my primary video footage. This is the clip that I want to animate. And I go to the first frame where I want the animation to begin. In this case, it's going to be the very first frame of the entire video. And I go up here to where it says Position. And right here is a little stopwatch icon that says Toggle Animation. And I will click on that. That will turn on keyframes. And now here, this little blue dot right here means that this frame is a keyframe. And it has memorized what the properties for this effect are at that frame. Now I can move my playhead a little farther on, and I can click right here on that little dot to make another keyframe. Now if I change the properties for this frame, it'll remember where that is. So let's drop me down a little bit and move me a little bit to the right. Okay, and then I'll move the playhead a little bit farther along and create another keyframe. And let's move me back a little bit and keep moving me down a little bit. And I'll do it again and create another keyframe. And now let's move me back the other way and up a little bit. And now I've got these different keyframes. And if I go back to the beginning, Adobe Premiere is going to smoothly transition between those keyframes and animate the layer. So it's going to look like this. Now, of course, I can do that a little slower, and I can spread out those keyframes throughout the clip so that I can slowly be moving around, or I can be quickly moving around. You could have somebody falling off a cliff or flying through the air. You could have somebody explode and be knocked out of the frame. This is also an easy way to show somebody getting hit by a car. You would film them in front of a green screen, you would film a regular car, you would composite that person, and as the car hits them, you use keyframes to knock them out of the side of the frame. It's a really common trick that's used a lot in Hollywood to do people getting hit by cars without having to risk a stuntman's life. So that's option B right there. Once again, I can just shorten up this clip to the point that's animated. I can render it and then upload it to the Google Drive. Those are 2 options. They're pretty simple. Let me know if there's some kind of digital effect that you don't have access to that I can purchase or find for you. Otherwise, have a wonderful time, and thank you for a great year.